By the final months of World War II, white flags had become a familiar sight. Entire German formations were collapsing, cities were falling, and surrender seemed inevitable. So when a group of German officers arrived under a white flag, few expected anything unusual. The meeting appeared routine. Yet almost immediately, something felt wrong. Patton's staff noticed details. The officers were composed, confident, even demanding. Their tone carried negotiation, not defeat. Their posture suggested authority, not surrender. Instead of men accepting reality, they behaved as though they still controlled the outcome. The room grew tense. Questions multiplied. Why were defeated officers speaking like victors? What were they trying to gain? What happened next revealed a deeper story, one hidden beneath battlefield reports and official accounts. The surrender itself may have been part of a larger psychological maneuver, a final attempt to shape events through perception. Patton saw it immediately. Others did not understand why this encounter mattered. It is necessary to understand Germany's condition in the war's final months. Allied armies were advancing from multiple directions. German cities burned under constant attack. Rail networks failed. Fuel reserves vanished, and replacement troops became increasingly scarce. Entire formations still existed on official maps, yet many lacked the ammunition, vehicles, or manpower needed to function. Despite this collapse, many senior officers remained caught between reality and ideology. For generations, the German officer corps had been built on obedience, prestige, and military honor. Surrender was not merely a military decision. It was a personal humiliation. At the same time, another name dominated German calculations: Patton. His rapid advances and aggressive tactics had earned both admiration and fear. German commanders knew his reputation well. Some respected it. Others believed they could outmaneuver him. That belief would soon be tested in a way few expected. The deeper Patton's headquarters looked, the more suspicious the surrender became. German representatives were not simply offering capitulation. They were presenting conditions. Requests slowly turned into demands. Proposed surrender times became negotiations. Meanwhile, reports from the front revealed something troubling. German positions remained active. Units continued moving. Communications traffic had not stopped. Patton's intelligence officers began comparing claims with battlefield reality. The two did not match. History had seen this before. In desperate situations, armies sometimes use partial or misleading surrenders to gain valuable time. A few hours could make an enormous difference. Personnel could escape encirclement. Sensitive documents could be destroyed. Defensive lines could be repositioned. Commanders could prepare for what came next. What appeared to be a routine surrender was beginning to resemble something else entirely, a strategic transaction designed to shape events after defeat. The question was no longer whether Germany was losing. It was why some officers still believed they could bargain with reality to understand the strange behavior. It is necessary to step inside the minds of the German officers themselves. Many knew the war was lost, yet accepting defeat and accepting reality were not the same thing. Some hoped to protect their careers, reputations, and personal influence. Others believed a future conflict between the Western Allies and the Soviet Union was inevitable. In their minds, Germany might still possess strategic value. That belief encouraged dangerous optimism. Private attitudes revealed something remarkable. Certain commanders no longer viewed surrender as an admission of defeat. They viewed it as another military maneuver. If battlefield victories were impossible, perhaps negotiations could achieve what weapons no longer could. This mindset created a critical disconnect. Allied commanders saw surrender as the end of resistance. Some German officers saw it as a bargaining process that could still shape outcomes. Arrogance mixed with denial. Reality became negotiable. But Patton understood something these officers did not. The battlefield cared nothing for their assumptions that Patton's advantage was not simply aggression. It was his understanding of how defeated armies behave. He knew military collapse often produces confusion, denial, and irrational decisions. Organizations that have spent years fighting rarely become completely honest the moment defeat arrives. Instead of focusing on promises, Patton focused on evidence. Intelligence reports revealed inconsistencies. Troop movements continued where activity should have ceased. Communications intercepts suggested ongoing coordination. Field observations painted a picture that differed sharply from surrender claims. To Patton, actions mattered more than words. While messages spoke of cooperation, military behavior suggested hesitation and maneuvering. The contradiction was impossible to ignore. What appeared to be a straightforward surrender concealed a deeper problem. The hidden reality was not merely deception. It was a command structure struggling to accept an outcome it could no longer prevent. Defeat had arrived, but many leaders had not yet accepted it. And soon, the battlefield itself would expose the truth. Patton's response was rooted in operational reality. Roads, bridges, supply routes, and troop concentrations mattered far more than promises made across a negotiation table. If German units were truly surrendering, their movements would reflect it. If they were not, the battlefield would reveal the difference. Reconnaissance patrols continued reporting activity. Communications networks remained active. Isolated units were still maneuvering across key positions. These were not the signs of a force fully committed to surrender. For that reason, Patton refused to slow his advance unnecessarily. Pressure remained constant. Orders continued moving through Allied command channels. Verification came before trust. The risks were obverse. A premature pause could provide opportunities for escape, reorganization, or destruction of valuable intelligence. Patton understood that uncertainty favored the enemy. As days passed, military facts steadily overwhelmed psychological games. Maps, reports, and field observations told a clearer story than diplomatic language ever could. Reality was proving impossible to negotiate. Popular history often presents surrender as a clean and orderly event. One side accepts defeat, signs documents, and the fighting stops. It is a simple narrative. It is also an incomplete one. The reality facing Allied commanders in the final months of the war was far more complicated. Germany's military structure was fracturing under immense pressure. Communications were inconsistent. Orders from higher headquarters often arrived too late, conflicted with local realities, or were ignored entirely. Some commanders sought compliance. Others focused on survival. This created a dangerous environment where surrender could mean different things to different people. One officer might genuinely intend to cease resistance, while another used negotiations to gain time. Some units followed instructions immediately. Others continued maneuvering despite official claims of capitulation. The result was confusion, contradiction, and uncertainty. This destroys a popular myth that Germany's final surrender process was unified and disciplined from top to bottom. In many cases, decision-making was driven by fear, denial, personal ambition, and self-preservation. Most revealing of all was the enemy's own behavior. Their actions exposed the truth more clearly than any official statement ever could. And once that myth collapsed, a deeper question emerged. Why were so many officers unable to accept reality even when defeat stood directly before them? Beneath the confidence displayed by many German officers lay something far more powerful: fear. By this stage of the war, most understood that Germany could not win. The real question was what would happen after defeat. Some feared capture by Soviet forces. Others feared investigations, accountability, or the consequences of decisions made during years of war. Many faced an even deeper crisis. Their identities had been built around military status, authority, and prestige. Defeat threatened all of it. This psychological pressure distorted judgment. Instead of adapting to reality, some officers attempted to negotiate with it. Pride became a liability. Denial became a strategy. Seen from this perspective, the questionable surrender was more than a tactical deception. It was evidence of a leadership culture struggling to accept an unavoidable outcome. The battlefield had already reached its verdict. Now every report, every movement, and every contradiction pointed toward a decisive moment when the truth could no longer be hidden. Eventually, the contradictions became impossible to explain away. Reports from the field matched intelligence assessments. Troop movement exposed lingering resistance. Communications revealed confusion within German ranks. What had once appeared uncertain now stood clearly in view. Patton's method had forced a simple but powerful test. Words would be measured against actions. Under that standard, the truth emerged quickly. German maneuvering lost its effectiveness. Every attempt to delay, negotiate, or reshape events was overwhelmed by battlefield realities. Allied pressure continued. Positions weakened. Options disappeared. The illusion that surrender could be used as a strategic bargaining tool finally collapsed. For the officers involved, the realization was unavoidable. The outcome could no longer be influenced through confidence, prestige, or negotiation. Events had moved beyond their control. This was a turning point. Reality defeated arrogance. The truth was no longer hidden inside reports or suspicions. It stood before everyone involved, undeniable and impossible to ignore. So, what did Patton do when German officers attempted to manipulate the terms of surrender? He did something remarkably simple. He trusted evidence more than appearances. He understood that victory on the battlefield means little if commanders abandon critical thinking at the moment it matters most. The larger lesson reaches far beyond a single episode. Wars are not won solely through weapons, numbers, or firepower. They are won through judgment, discipline, and the ability to recognize reality even when others refuse to see it. The final collapse of Nazi Germany exposed a timeless truth. Pride can delay reality. It can distort decisions and encourage dangerous illusions, but it cannot defeat reality forever. History remembers campaigns, battles, and military victories. Yet the enemy's own behavior often reveals a deeper story. In the end, deception was not exposed by anger or revenge. It was exposed by clear thinking. When the war's final illusions began to crumble, Patton understood something many German officers did not. Reality always wins its last battle.